We started 4 o'clock with those 4 teenagers that were ejected from a car this morning. This after slamming head on into another vehicle in Commerce City. And police tell us the driver responsible, just 14 years old.
Yeah, really sad and scary thing. This happened on East 88th Avenue about 8:30. 9 News reporter Jaleesa Rosari is joining us from the Commerce City Police Department. Jaleesa, what do we know about the injuries and what do we know about that crash?
Yeah, Kim and Tom, the driver, like you mentioned, is just 14 years old, and police say he is seriously hurt. The passenger, they believe, is his brother, and he's just 12 years old. There were two other teenagers in the back. They're 14 and 16 years old. Now, take a look at these photos, though. Police say with this kind of damage, all involved are lucky to be alive. Now, authorities say the 4 boys were driving down East 88th at what they believe was a high rate of speed when they struck a guardrail that propelled them into oncoming traffic. They hit a minivan that had 2 women in it. The car then proceeded down a ditch when it ended up in some water. The 2 women in the van had minor injuries. All 4 boys were transported to the hospital. Police say these kinds of wrecks show the major consequences of speeding.
It's pretty terrifying. They're obviously both totaled, and that sedan had the hood stripped off, the windshield completely shattered in, and it was submerged in water. You know, it had to be pulled out of that ditch. Yeah, the vehicles, when you look at that, it's amazing anyone survived.
Now, police say the car the teens were in was registered to a parent out of Thornton. Authorities do not know if the parents knew the kids had the car. Police say there were witnesses in this crash, so they are helping out with the investigation, of course. And this serves as a reminder for everyone to slow down and, of course, wear a seatbelt. Kim and Tom?
Well, the images of the crash are bad enough, but then when you hear that the driver was 14 years old, Jaleesa, that takes your breath away.
Just an absolutely heartbreaking situation, right? Not just one teen, of course, just involved in this, 4 separate teens involved in this. So obviously incredibly heartbreaking, and we're obviously wishing them the best right now.
Yeah, they're all in there together. All right, thank you, Jaleesa.
Right now, investigators are looking for suspects who they say robbed 2 U.S. Postal Service letter carriers at gunpoint yesterday. This happened last night at around 5 o'clock in Denver's Montbello neighborhood. And a home security camera captured the suspects taking off in a white Hyundai Sonata. The USPS says the first happened near Bowling Drive in Duluth Court, and the second happened on Eureka Court. Coming up at 5 o'clock, Jeremy Hohola talks to the Postal Workers Union. They are demanding action.
Let's take a live look outside. This is the Horsetooth Reservoir camera that we're looking at. A few clouds rolling in. It was sunny earlier today, Kathy, but there's a little chill in the air.
Yeah, you can kind of tell something's coming because that wind, as you mentioned, has a little edge to it. And we've had more cloud cover than sunshine, and it is part of a storm system that's going to bring some big changes to us heading into Thursday and Friday. Tonight's relatively quiet in spite of the cloud cover. It's still pretty comfortable out there. Temperatures in the upper 40s and lower 50s. We've had occasional snow showers over I-70 and over some of the higher passes, but no advisories for snow or travel yet. Current readings, we've come down a bit. The clouds come through and we drop down to the upper 40s in Denver, still 50s in southeastern Colorado and 40s in the high country. The winds have been the other big player. Even though they're coming in out of the south, it really does bring in some of that cooler air with that cloud deck in place. And you can see on the radar and satellite composite where the snow showers are right now, but the main system that we're tracking is still well off to the west. This system here that created blizzard conditions across the Sierra Nevada mountain range over the weekend, that's the system that's going to swing into Colorado, and we'll start to see this snow, which doesn't look like a lot on radar this hour, kind of ramp up in coverage and intensity here over the next couple of hours and next couple of days. So tonight, maybe a brief rain shower from these clouds and skies will clear. Tomorrow we go partly sunny, we go warmer, and then the changes for Thursday and for Friday. So tonight, beautiful evening, light sweater or jacket if you're out, but it should remain mainly dry in Denver. Coming up, we're tracking that Thursday storm, a rain to snow event. We'll let you know what that means for your Friday and the upcoming weekend. We'll have the timing and impacts in just a bit.
Thanks, Kathy. The biggest delegate grab in primary season now underway, with voters in Colorado as well as 14 other states casting primary ballots for the presidential race. This, of course, to be the biggest test yet for the Republican Nikki Haley, who's been vowing to stay in the race. Let's get the latest from NBC's Alice Barr.
This Super Tuesday, voters from more than a dozen states across the country casting ballots and sounding off on a likely Biden-Trump rematch. From California,
both I don't really agree with, but because of just policy-wise, I would vote for Biden.
Donald Trump, he's a little bit rough around the edges. He was objectively great for this country.
To Utah,
it's either have democracy and a guy that's too old to run it, or democracy ends. Those are your choices.
and Massachusetts.
I voted for Joe.
And why is that?
Well, because he's a decent guy, and I think he's doing a great job. I know he's an older man, you know, but that's our choice.
Younger voters especially voicing frustrations over the candidates' ages.
Is age a factor for you?
It definitely is. I mean, especially I work in healthcare, and knowing that as you get older, your memory just naturally starts to get a little weary.
It's just hard to feel represented by someone that's so much older than us.
And a feeling they're not being heard on critical issues like U.S. support for Israel in the war in Gaza.
Do you think this is an issue that could and should cost President Biden the election?
This is a time for moral leadership, and yet I'm not seeing that.
Several voters we spoke to are considering a third-party candidate, as former President Trump's sole Republican rival Nikki Haley struggles to break through.
I'm not ready to get out yet. I'm still sitting there fighting for the people that want a voice, and they deserve that.
Voices turning to votes, with the frontrunners moving closer to locking in their party's nominations. In Arlington, Virginia, Alice Barr, NBC News.
Of course, our politics ace, Marshall Zellinger, is covering the elections in Colorado tonight. We're going to hear from him coming up at about 4:30.
And if you were hoping to spend election night at the theater, bad luck if you're going to see Hairspray at the Buell Theater. That performance was canceled after a sprinkler system above the stage at the Buell accidentally went off and flooded parts of the stage. DCPA tells us they will reach out to the ticket holders, probably have. This was the first night of that show, set to run through March 10th. The extent of the damage is unknown. DCPA says as of now, only tonight's performance is affected, but they're going to assess the quality of the stage.
Of course, many people woke up today not able to access some of their favorite social media sites. It turns out that Meta's social media apps, which include Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, all experienced some sort of outage for users around the globe. Meta describes it as a technical issue that's been resolved, saying services are now back to normal. At the peak of the outages, more than 560,000 Facebook outages were being reported, as well as 70,000 Instagram outages, and yet somehow we got through it.
Life went on.